Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. We are Ivana and Dunya, and we are sisters, expats living abroad. I'm living in Germany, and Dunya, I live in Spain. And today's episode is going to be about dating and relationships as an expat. While we are living abroad, experiences with dating and relationships abroad. It's basically going to be since we moved abroad, and for you, it's quite some years, but I mean, you've been in a relationship ever since you moved. Anyway, so we may be a person asking questions today. Yes, but we want to talk about dating in a foreign language. So yes, how was it for us important to date in a foreign language with people who live in that country, but also the other foreigners in that country, yes, with locals and other experts. How it was for us to meet people offline, how we could meet people offline in a foreign country, and also to talk about different dating apps. We know that there is million of them out there. We slash me had only experience with few of them. We're basically going to focus on those. Yeah, we are then going to talk about our experiences into more detail from the dating apps and from the dating abroad. We can dive in. So let's talk a little bit about dating in a foreign language first. Yeah, this just reminded me about this one thing that I heard from one of my friends some years ago while I was still living in Austria. He was saying that so he was also an expat in Austria from Italy, and he said that he doesn't think that he could ever date in a foreign language, meaning in English. His English was very good at the time, but he was afraid that he would not be able to express himself completely, which would mean that he would not be able that like introduce himself, and that this person would not get to know him as he is in his being, basically. And this just came to my mind, even though later he was having a relationship in a foreign language. So this reminds me of the fact that many of us are actually scared how relationships in a foreign language would look like. I think most of us first thinks, yes, sure, I'm able to talk. For example, in English, that's mostly the language that we communicate in abroad. And I mean, two of us. And first it's like, yeah, I talk to my friends, I can make jokes, so I express my mind. But then you start talking with your friends deeper, and then you realize, okay, if I want to find a partner, I do express some more complex thoughts, and I struggle. You even struggle in your own in your mother tongue to express some deeper thoughts and some more complex thoughts. It's not about the language construction or grammar. It's just about the complexity of your feelings. And then you realize, okay, I don't quite understand myself. So I think it's even harder to do that in a foreign language. Yes, sometimes we don't even know what we want to express in our own language. Once you move, maybe this is one of the last things you are like kind of keen on doing in a foreign language. Everything else, like going to work, chatting with neighbors, meeting friends, everything else comes sooner than dating. And yes, it's I think also one of the big milestones in that sense. Yes, and also you don't think, maybe you have it in the back of your head if you are moving abroad and you are single. You may have it in the back of your head, okay, if I want to move to this country forever, or at least for some years, I might be looking for someone at some point. But you don't think about what it requires, actually. As you said, going to work, working in that language has its own vocabulary. Meeting friends, going out for drinks, cooking together, going out for hikes. It doesn't have to require such a advanced level of language. And when you actually want to meet someone and go deeper into your feelings and yourself and your past and what you've experienced, then you don't realize that you need that. Meeting people for dating, it can be just meeting as friends, but just having sex on the other side. But if you really want a connection with somebody, yeah, then you really need to talk to that person. So let's try to dive into this topic, even though it's quite
complex. What are the first things?
Well, I think it depends whether you want to meet someone offline or online, or whether you are. I know a lot of my friends that are not open to dating apps and they want to meet someone offline. But then again, we are living in a bubble. Like we are this institute, and all the people that we know and all the friends that we organize dinners with are from that institute. And we always think, okay, it's not so good to have anything with people from the institute because then it might not end well. And then you have to see each other, and then you have friends in common, and it never ends well.
We actually had the same problem because when I was living in Lund, this was a small institute of around 30 people, and most of them were my friends. And then I was thinking, okay, even if I meet someone here, first we are colleagues, and I don't really want to mix occupation, job, and my private life in that sense. And at that time, many of my colleagues and I were spending quite a lot of time at work. And we also had, I mean, we were all, and still are, some of us, we are friends, and maybe it's healthier to have one aspect of my life outside of this environment that counts 30 people. And as you said, you never know, things might get nasty for whichever reason. And then not just that the working environment would be awkward, but also like you have common friends. Do you want them to take sides? Will they need to take sides? I don't know. Still, that sense was something that I really did not want to mix.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't met anyone since I started my studies that I would say, okay, I maybe think I could go on a date with this person until after 6 months of studying. Let's say I went on a cruise, and I actually went on a cruise with a completely different department that is situated in a completely different building. The only thing that we had in common was that we work at the same institute. And there was one guy there, and he was also a master's student, but we didn't even have the program in common. And we were at that cruise for a week, and it was strictly professional because what we just talked about. But then we continued talking, and at some point, something kind of happened between us. And the moment it happened, I was like, no, this is not good. I mean, yes, we don't really see each other at the institute, and we have only one friend in common, and that was our boss from the ship. But even that, making that awkward is already wrong. So it didn't go far. It didn't end. It didn't last.
It didn't really start.
Kinda, it still felt wrong. So yeah, I think that really dating in your bubble is
yeah, especially with that bubble is not so easily replaceable. I mean, I know it sounds bad, but especially when you work so hard on getting that bubble, it's just too much of
yes. And also again,
struggle implication.
Exactly. But also my friend, she is struggling. She was struggling with that a lot because she never wanted to go on the dating apps, and she wanted to meet someone like in person. And she was and we were again from the same bubble. We are working at the same institute. We don't have so many friends in common, but they are all from that institute, so it doesn't matter. But the one thing that she did was that she was going to the gym, so she was meeting people there. But again, most of them were already in relationships, or they would just go there to work out and maybe just have some fun. It's really hard to just meet the person, especially like she was going to the gym, and most of the people who were going to that gym were Germans. Of course, there were some internationals, but to Germans, for them, it's hard to speak English in their own country.
But I guess they're also not contemplating the idea of dating in a foreign language. And once this happens as a possibility, it catches them by surprise, I guess. Then it's not easy.
Because they know that they live in a country which language they speak. And okay, she's super nice, she's pretty, but they're going to find someone who speaks their language. So they're not getting deeper into the conversation. And I think that's another thing that's really hard. If you want to meet someone offline, and of course you're in a country, for example, where German is spoken, then it's going to be really hard to find someone if you don't speak German.
I had a similar experience because I was living in Austria. Well, my German got better over time, but I don't think it ever reached level where I would be feeling comfortable in dating in German because my English was always better than German. It's way easier to speak in English. I never had this as a kind of something that I needed to, that I had to confront. I don't know. Maybe I could do it, but I don't know.
If I think about it, because I do like to analyze stuff. And I do like to talk about life in general and feelings and I don't know, the childhood and to get into the childhood traumas of both people. And I do that with my flatmate a lot. So we analyze everybody and we talk about feelings and we try to connect the event. And for me, in the beginning, it was really hard to do it in English. But now I got to the point where, okay, because I talked to her a lot and then we are really comfortable with that. But then I was in Chile and I talked to one guy one day, and he was telling me how he moved from Santiago to Valdivia, where I was. And it was really hard to find somebody. I mean, he asked me out on a date, and I said that I was taken. And then we got to the story that it was really hard to find somebody, and that people want some shallow stuff. And then we got to this, we would talk deeper, but my Spanish was not good and I was not feeling comfortable talking about it. And I mean, we managed the conversation. In the end, it was okay. And he understood what I want to say. And if I did it more often, maybe I would feel comfortable. But if I was single and I was there and I found someone to talk about feelings, it would be really hard. So it's really hard to do it in a foreign language.
Yes, yes. I am now used to English. I don't really notice it so much. With my husband, we are communicating in English because he's Spanish, and I know many couples who are like that. That they both communicate in their non-native language, and yeah, I also know couples that one is communicating in their native language, the other one in a foreign language. I think what is a bigger concern, for example, for me at the time when I was dating, when I moved to Austria and started dating, was actually not so much of a language, provided that it was English, because German would be a bit difficult. But it was more like I was thinking, would I be able to find someone to understand me in a way, because we all have like, okay, we have our individual stories, that is a fact, but we all have some cultural backgrounds that are part of our personality. And I think it's easier for people to understand these individual differences because we all have them than for people to understand that you have some cultural backgrounds that they have also to take in account.
Yeah.
And then I was like a little bit scared of that actually, because okay, first persons that I was thinking that I would be dating in Austria would be maybe, I don't know, Austrians and Germans. And I was like, I don't, I mean, of course, I can explain you a couple of things, but not everything has to be explained in a way. Something has to come from like internal understanding.
Yes. I was talking to a guy, he's German, and I mean, we are from Serbia, and it's really hard that people from abroad, especially Germans and Austrians, I mean, I'm sorry, that's my experience, they don't understand what it requires to get there for us.
Yes, for example, that, yes.
And I remember I was talking to this guy, and he was basically I could feel that he had this he was distant right from the start because I think that his perception of people from non-EU countries is that we just get there, we just come to Germany, and we just come to put weight on the social system. And of course, nothing ever happened with this guy, but I think that it's really hard to communicate with some Germans and Austrians because they don't understand how actually hard it was for us to move and what it took to move. and then they go to the other extreme and say, yes, you basically came here to do nothing and just get money from our social security.
Yeah, wonderful.
But on the other side, what you said about communicating, when I was in Norway, I met a woman completely by accident. I was in a very small institute, and there was a book where we would always write when we come in and come out because of the fire alarms. And I just by accident saw a Serbian first and last name, and I was basically asking around to see who that is, and we met. And it turned out that she had a Chilean husband, and she was super nice. And she had a Chilean husband. They were communicating in Serbian, Spanish, English, and Norwegian. They have 2 children, I think, and their children learned the Norwegian in schools, and basically they were forced to learn Norwegian because of the children. And they at first communicated in English, of course. And then because they were together for so many years, they both learned Serbian and Spanish. And basically I went to visit them one day, and we spent only a few hours together. And really, they just speak the language that comes to mind first. And it was amazing to see how they, of course, if it was something more serious, probably they would speak words in their own native languages. But it's amazing to see how this other person can understand you and can respond in whatever language, and the first person would understand you back. That it can also be like that.
Yeah. Now, when you were talking, you reminded me also of my ex-boss who is a was a German, and his wife, she was Czech. And they were when kids were born, they were living in Norway. So the eldest kid, he was going even to the kindergarten in Norway, and they even had some family friends that the kid was speaking in Norwegian with. At home, he was learning German from the father, who was only talking to him in German, mother, who was only speaking to him in Czech, and the parents between each other, they were communicating in English. Usually, kids did not speak English. I mean, for sure they pick up the line or two, especially with the pop culture and everything. Yes, this is really crazy. But I always think this is so good for these kids, because I remember when I was growing up, we as kids, we were listening on the television, some English, Spanish, but even that little helped me a lot. At first, I was not learning Spanish on purpose, and then I basically forgot about it for many years. And then when I met my now husband and started meeting his family, it meant so much. And it meant also a lot when I started learning Spanish on purpose, to learn it much faster. This means a lot when you are surrounded with multiple languages, when you have opportunity already as a child to learn multiple languages, because this is for sure going to serve you at some point. And for sure, it makes you more adaptable to a new language later in life when you encounter it. I think this is a wonderful benefit for the kids.
Yes, I'm just afraid that if kids learn many languages at once, they won't be able to tell them apart.
I was asking this colleague of mine once how it was for their kids to kind of have to communicate with so many different people in different language. And she told me, like, for them, there is no confusion. They know with which person they communicate in which language. And they immediately, when they see that person and they want to address them, they immediately switch. In their kind, this person is this language, that person is that language. And then they're like, at least in their case, there was no really any problems. Kids are like, what she told me is that kids are super adaptable, and they have it very clear in their mind which language is for whom. So,
Okay, that's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. My ex-boyfriend's father lives in Germany, and he married, and they have another child, and now she would be like 15 years old or a bit less. And at the time when I went to visit them, she spoke equally German and Serbian because she was going to German school and they spoke Serbian at home. And then she was learning English and French in school. And I think it was amazing because she was, whenever the parents needed to write something in German, she would always have to correct it for the parents. So she knew super good German already, like these rules and I don't know, der, die, das, like these prepositions, articles. these articles. She already knew by feeling what is correct, and it turned out correct. So yeah, people who grew up in this kind of international environment are really more adaptable and more open to other languages than people who only grow up in one language environment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But going back to the dating abroad, so basically, if you don't want to date on your work, you kind of have like what, two options. You can either actively search to meet someone at some public places, I guess, which is like kind of now who is doing that? I mean, I guess it happens still.
You are perceived as a freak, no?
Yes, I mean, nowadays, I think when I was a teenager, I think it was a relatively normal thing. It was before the era of dating apps and stuff. And I think this was very normal. This was basically the only way to do it. One way was to either approach someone at some public place or common friends. But of course, this is not always the case. But now, yes, now when I'm thinking about it, it would be, yeah, maybe a bit strange.
Yeah, honestly, if I went out with my friend and somebody approached me, I would see that as very rude. I mean, I'm sorry, of course, again, to the people that do that and to people who don't see it this way, because I see it as, okay, I went out with my friends and I want to enjoy this evening with my friend.
What if you are alone?
If I was alone, then it would be different, because then another person would not know whether you came out just to hang out with yourself because you need some space, or you came out to meet people.
Yes, but there is also this kind of cultural difference, how this is observed depending on a country. I now don't know in which country is which, but there are some countries in which when a person is seen alone in a bar, that means that this person is out to search for a partner or a mate or one night stand, whatever. But in other countries, this is not the case. And then this person maybe just wants to go out and have a drink with themselves, like without any other intentions. And then if the person from that kind of country goes to the first type of country, then it's getting basically like molested by many people who are actually expecting that this person is looking for a mate. And so there are also again these cultural differences.
That's what you expect. If you move to a different country, you expect some cultural differences, and you expect that there are going to be some misunderstandings. And that's why I say I see it that way. So if I go with my friends, I see it that way. But it doesn't have to mean that other people from Germany see it that way, or even people from Serbia. It's just my personal kind of like view that, okay, if I go out with my friends, if I'm with a group of friends, or if I'm with one friend, I am really there to enjoy and to bond with my friends, have some drinks. And if some drunk person approaches me, then not gonna happen. But also, even if the person was nice, then I would still see it, okay, I'm out with my friends. And also, I don't see them quite a lot. And it can be because I live abroad, or it can be because we are busy working, so we don't get to hang out a lot. This is our time to hang out, so please just leave us alone. But as I said, again, it can be only my own personal preference.
It can also be that if you are outside with your friends, that some of you are outside looking to meet someone and the other ones are there as a support.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it can be many things. And that's why I say, I mean, misunderstandings are going to happen, right? And I think that no pasa nada, as long as everybody is polite. And even if the person approaches and I don't feel like it, and if I say, okay, I'm out with my friends and I just want to be left alone, and the other person respects that, then it's okay, right? But I think that nowadays there is this trend that like being in a bar and another person approaches you, it's being seen as kind of like uh, um, crossing the boundaries. And that's why I think many people turn to dating apps.
Well, I guess this is also this kind of attitude. If I'm going to be rejected, at least I'm not going to be rejected in person
as well. But also, I wanted to say that if people want to meet still offline, but in a different kind of setting, in a more, let's say, relaxed kind of setting, then they do. They go to the gym, to some of these kind of group trips, or they go to some workshops and they meet people. They go to language
way more like effort isn't it? For example, if you will go to a language course, okay, you go to learn a language. This is a fact because otherwise it's just too much time and money waste for nothing. But what are your chances? Your aim should not be the exam. I agree, but still, like, okay, let's assume that during your week you go twice per week to a language course. You go 3 times per week to the gym. You go outside with like one or two groups of friends that can potentially introduce you to other people. And how many people potentially you can actually meet in that way? You can meet, let's say, 20 people. Gyms are sometimes a bit more crowded. Let's say even 50. But if you go to a dating apps, you will see more than 50 photos in 2 hours.
But also, I mean, when you take a look at these 50 people, some of them already are in a relationship and they're not interested. Others maybe not your sex of interest, right? So even if within these 50 people, you might have like 10 that
Yes,
are.
I mean, when I was talking about this, I was thinking about the specific sex of interest, but yeah, the other things are what you said. You meet people, even if they technically behave like they were single and available. Some of them are doing that just for fun. Some of them are actually, I don't know, having completely different idea of what this relationship is or how your connection is supposed to look like. I mean, I don't say dating apps are much better. I have to say I have no experience with dating apps like Tinder and similar because the way how I saw the concept of Tinder already back then was that like you have a photo of a person in the description of 50 words, which usually says like to take a walk and travel and I love dogs. And it was like, okay, this is not telling me anything.
Yes, even though there are some people that tell you specifically what they want, in a sense that whether they want an open relationship, whether they are already in a relationship but want someone, whether they are searching for a one night stand or
Yeah.
something more long.
But this is one thing. Like one is like what they're looking for on Tinder, but they also like how many people on Tinder is actually devoting their time to actually describe themselves in order that this person that is reading their like profile really starts to get a little bit of this feeling of their personality actually.
Yes, I agree. But what we said in Tinder, you can swipe like 50 people in an hour, and there is everything in this 1 hour and these 50 people. And I think that from my experience, at least, a lot of people really just want a one night stand or something that is just relax and that they don't have to take care of. And I think that if a person on Tinder writes, okay, I'm looking for something more long term or something more serious, it doesn't really, you never know. So let's say something serious, or tries to kind of describe themselves. I think a lot of people just perceive that as this person is too much. They're trying too hard.
Too much.
Yes. I mean, you can say that you're looking for something serious, but if they already see you as that something serious and you haven't even met, for example, okay, I met a person, so we've never met in person, but I started texting with some guy on Tinder, and I was still in Serbia, and he came to Serbia from Africa, and he said that he's looking for something more serious and that he's really doesn't want to fuck around. I don't remember what were the other stuff in his bio, and I was like, okay. He looks nice from the pictures. He seems like, let's say, educated. And we started texting, and it was great. Like, he wants to stay in Serbia, even though I knew I don't want to stay in Serbia, but there was still like at least a year before I left. So I was at the time I was single, so I was just going through the apps, and he seemed nice. He was in Novi Sad, and one day he was like, okay, let's talk. And I was like, okay. And that talk determined everything. He said, you're not like the other women. And I was like, oh my God, what do you mean? And he was like, you can joke. I don't know, you can joke. Yeah, apparently I am not suffocating him with my feelings and I'm not so sensitive. I am relaxed and I'm joking. So I'm not like other women. That was like, yes, exactly. That was one. And that was the first and the very important red flag that I was like, okay, we're talking now and never again. But then he started suffocating me in that sense that he was saying, basically, he came to Serbia to marry, and we are talking seriously.
You're just arranging your wedding, right?
We're seriously talking.
So he doesn't want a woman who is suffocating him, but he can suffocate you. This just goes in one direction, right?
But he's not suffocating me because you're a woman. No, these are technicalities. He's serious. He wants to get married, so we are talking about our future.
Because you are a woman, of course, that you want to get married.
Yes, of course.
Right. Yes.
Yes, because he has a friend or two friends from Africa, and they both are married for Serbian girl. And he saw it as something beautiful, and he wanted to come to Serbia no matter the cost and marry. And then he was telling me this on the first phone call, and I was like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. So that's what I'm telling you. You can see that there is a Tinder profile saying, okay, he wants something serious, but then you start talking, and he's talking about marriage. So then you learn to run away from these kind of profiles. But maybe another person can write that they want something serious, but they are not going to suffocate you like that, and they're not going to talk about kids and marriage right away. You don't know that.
The same way as you don't know a person doesn't say anything what they want, is just maybe this reason that, of course, they don't want to screw around, but they also, okay, they want something serious, but they say they want something serious, they would be seen as, yeah, the ones who want to get married after the first date. You can also assume that this is a person who wants to see when, depending on the person they meet, where this is going, actually.
Yes. I mean, to clarify a little bit, I was going on the dating apps and I used multiple. So we can talk about all of the ones that I used. And I was asked multiple times, what am I looking for? And I am not saying that I'm looking for a relationship, but I am not a person that is for one night stand, or I am not a person that just wants to mess around. Because me personally, I was never kind of attracted to that because, as you know, I'm really emotional and I need someone to have the capacity and space for all of my emotions. So
much is getting spilled all over around.
For me, one night stands don't have any meaning. And I say right away that this is not something that I want. And that's what I'm saying, that, okay, I am not up here to listen.
Maybe I can just say shortly my experience with dating abroad, because it's going to be a very short story. Okay, I moved to Austria. It was a village, and I decided that I want to start dating.
In the sad violin in the background.
Yes, sad violin. And then was like, okay, at work, I'm not going to meet anyone because I don't want to. Or actually, there is very little chance because the institute was very small.
You don't shit where you eat.
And also you don't shit where you eat. That's the best explanation. We had a very small friend bubble. I didn't also want to burst it for a stupid reason. Of course, meeting local people was also not an option. First, because I was not able to understand them. And the second thing is that we had very little things in common. And then I was thinking I did not want Tinder and this stuff because it would also include kind of the village, and you meet everyone from the village basically daily. So this was also a bit strange. And of course, I could expand the radius, but the first people that I would get offered were people from the village and neighboring villages. Yeah, this was also not really an option. Actually, I didn't even know that well about Tinder at the time. Yeah, for me, it was just simply superficial and not really an option. First, I bought a car and then I realized that I had dating options. And 5 days later, I started online profiles. That was exact order. I realized that I would give it a try to these dating web pages, which are paid. So you need to pay for being able to respond to people. You can receive messages for free, but you cannot respond without paying for it. And first I did a bit of a research. I realized that in Austria, at least in that time, because one friend of mine told me that nowadays there are not many people who are still on these web pages. Might be because there are so many dating apps nowadays, that dating web pages that were like paid from the beginning. Maybe they are not so popular anymore. Maybe they are now outdated, but I preferred it because I did a bit of a research. I realized that in Austria, they were at that time, at least, still very much in use, very popular. And I also like the fact that they did very detailed psychological tests for every person who wants to be a user. So even a free user. This was the test that I was solving like for 2 hours or so, just to be able to open my profile. This psychological test was consisting of several parts. There were some kind of like a role play questions where they would say, you are with your partner on a party and then one friend is being rude to you. You expect your partner to do ABCD with the potential answers. Or I don't know, you go visit your potential mother-in-law and then you would expect your partner to introduce you to her in ABCD way. This was one part. The second part was like you were not really sure what was the questions about. For example, they would get like they would say choose the response without thinking about it. Just do it intuitively. And then they would show you like a square and a triangle. And you need to choose between these two. This was just like, okay, is there here a response that can make me a potential psychopath? Like, is it a triangle, the sign that something is wrong with me? Then, of course, there was this one like a personality and habits part of the test. When you, for example, say, in my free time, I like going for movies or a walk or hike or just watching Netflix, then you need to choose basically. Sometimes there was like answer with multiple choices, sometimes just one. There was also some more like a personality kind of questions.
Honestly, I have a partner now, but I want to solve it.
They even send me some kind of information about myself that I don't remember anymore.
And they didn't say that you're a psychopath.
As far as I remember, I was at least allowed to use the web page, and then you get a profile there after you. So, and I like this because now on this web page, okay, maybe someone has a problem with data sharing, but I knew that they cover data about me, about my habits. I mean, they're not going to suggest me person who, if I like going for holidays and traveling and a long hike, they're not going to suggest me someone who doesn't want to go outside in their free time at all and spend all their time watching Netflix because we are not compatible. Then you have this kind of matching score, basically. People who are not really your match, you are not even getting suggested to them and they're not getting suggested to you. And also people that you get suggested, you have also a matching score. So you can also get an idea if you match more or less. Even though if you have 5 or more or less points, I don't think this should make a difference between choosing a partner. Actually, I don't think this is that exact science, really. But I know that emotions are not quantifiable, that this is something that you just simply feel, but as someone coming, yes, chemistry as well, but as someone coming from kind of research, I like to quantify things. So I also like to quantify even how much potentially I could like someone in like concrete numbers. So this was nice. And I did a research of these different web pages because at that time in Austria, they were still very popular. And you had a web page platform for everything. The one that I chose is the one for people who are looking for serious relationships, not like relationships ending up in marriage necessarily, but deeper connections. And you're supposed to be single to use it.
Yes, but that's the thing. You know what you want, and then you don't need to plan the marriage and the kids and I don't know what. You are just okay. You are there because you know that you want something more serious, and then you're just talking and see how you're getting along. But you don't need necessarily to start talking about that. To start talking about being
yes, I mean, at least not with everybody. I remember there was one guy that I was chatting with, and it was also, I don't know, third or fourth message he sent me. He asked me if I'm interested in having kids. For some people, this is important, so they want to know it right away. But yes, and then of course, there were like also platforms for people who are looking for adventures, for people who are looking to cheat their partners. And then if you see people on this platform that I was part of, then you say, okay, these are people who are looking for like deeper connections, let's call it. And of course, they all should be single. And yeah, that was it. I think it worked quite well. I had a couple of dates there. Yeah, I met one Austrian guy who seemed nice, but this was this thing that I was feared of. I don't think he really could understand me entirely. And it's not just what you went through to get to there. It's also this thing, like, of course, as I said, we all have our individual experiences, and some of them can be very traumatizing, and it's of course also difficult. But I cannot explain an Austrian how it was to grow up in the 90s in certain 90s for many Western countries, one of the best decades ever. For us, it was total shit. And like this is part of my personality, and I don't think I would ever be able to explain you that part of my personality if you don't understand it.
I think that okay, people don't need to know history. And sometimes, yes, people may not know this basic stuff, but they should be open to hear. And if you say that, for example, the 90s were the worst period of your life because of what was happening in the country and in the region, then they should not be, I don't know, fuck historians or something like that. They should be interested to hear why is it like for you, and be interested, of course, in your personal experience as well. Maybe they don't need to necessarily know about it right away. Not everybody, for example, like, I don't know about history. I don't know about what was happening in the country. But I think that personally, I would be open to hear if I meet an older person in general, like at work or something, and they start telling me about Western and Eastern Germany, and that they were kind of affected by that in any way. Of course, I would want to listen. Of course, I would want to know. And I think it's just a human thing to do. Even more so, if you're looking for a partner, then they should be able and available to you to find out what's happening, what happened in your life.
Yeah, of course. In the same way as they want to meet you, like as a person in general.
Yes.
One more thing that I wanted to mention about this platform specifically is that it was not revealing anything, basically. At first, your name is not shown on the platform, your photo is not shown on the platform until the moment you allow a specific person to see your photo and the name. And to me, was very nice because if someone wants anonymity, they have it completely. They control who they let know, how they look like, and their names or anything else. Yeah, so this was something that you don't get with Tinder and apps like.
Yeah, but that was Parship or?
Yeah, this was Parship. Did I mention?
Yeah,
it?
no. So
Okay, so this was Parship. So this was this online platform that was basically for people who would like to meet for some deeper connections. And yes, it's a paid platform, so you cannot respond until you pay for it. Yes.
But it was as an online page at first, or
It was an online page. You can also download the app.
yeah, now there is an app for sure.
There is an app, of course, but for everything you need to do a very detailed test. You need to pay for it.
Yes.
So you don't get far with the free account, actually.
Yes, I said that this psychological test sounds really interesting.
I have a friend who told me that nowadays it's not so much in use, but maybe
I did in Germany ever since I started going for internships. So for some years now, they are advertisement on the billboard.
Yeah, everywhere this exists also. Yeah, I think and not just Germany, at least several European countries.
Yes, but what I want to say is that I think it's still quite advertised. So I don't know how much is it in use, but they are reaching out to people.
And you are also free to choose the radius. So if you would like to meet someone from basically your neighborhood or the same region or same country or internationally, you can also control for several other parameters, not just the distance. So I think it's quite nice, yes.
Okay. But also you pay the most for it.
Well, I cannot really compare because I did not want to go for Tinder, and I don't know how many more options there were out there with like similar apps. But yes, I mean, there was Tinder. I didn't didn't want to go for Tinder. I didn't want to go for these other web page, other platforms that are for something less serious.
I think that these apps that are not paid are really, of course, that's not exclusively, but most of the people are really looking for some fun. And I don't know. I went to Google and just Google dating apps to see for this podcast, and there were like 50, and there were dating apps for everything. You know, like polyamorous, open relationships, finding a partner, also like same sex relationships. Nowadays, you can find everything online.
But at least my experience with dating online was that people were quite like, of course, most guys would write to me in German first, and then it was said. But then I would tell them, can you please switch to English because I feel more comfortable? And I think that most of them, as far as I remember, the next message they would send me was in English, and they seemed completely fine with that.
Yes.
So at least in this kind of sense, I didn't feel that it was limiting me much.
That happened to me as well. But for example, I was texting to a guy from Tinder in Germany, and he started texting me in German. I said if we could text in English. He said, yes, sure, it's fine. And we were texting really nice. And then we met and we had a really nice evening. But what I realized is that he's really struggling. He's really trying very hard to tell me some stories, and he doesn't want my help, but you can see that he's not having the great time. So that's what we're saying. If you go to work or if you meet some friends and it's not yet this kind of deeper connection, then the language is easier. But if you're trying to start to talk about your personal experiences and maybe what happened to you before, and then you start mixing all the tenses, and then you start thinking about the words, then it gets a bit harder. And some people are not prepared for that. And this guy, unfortunately, was not prepared for that. And I think he got really frustrated.
I didn't meet many people eventually through these platforms. I don't know how it would be in person. Yeah, it worked for me. It was quite okay experience. And what about you?
First, I want to say that people should really pay attention in the dating world. In the online dating world, because not everybody is there to have fun, and not everybody is there to just meet another person and go out on dates and do whatever. Some people are there to hurt you or scam you. So it never happened to me before. Maybe some profiles were fake that talked to me, but if people go to these extremes right away, either getting married or, okay, let's just meet and have fun, I usually don't risk. Maybe somebody was a scam, but I didn't come in a closer touch with that. But I did hear, for example, when I was in Chile and in South America, that you shouldn't really use dating apps. My partner told me that in Brazil, it's really, that he read somewhere that it's really not safe to do that. I noticed that it's happening in Brazil. For example, in Sao Paulo, there are billboards all around you saying that you shouldn't take any transport that's not like Uber or official taxis, because they will take you somewhere and they will just rob you blind and leave you wherever. So what I imagine is that basically you make a date.
It's a relationship.
Yes, you kind of set a date. You show up and there is a group of people that shows up and just robs you blind, right? Or I don't know if there are any other like physical offenses. I really don't know, but I think that it's really not safe to date there. I don't know if you were there when this Hungarian girl was telling a story. She was living in Scotland and she had a friend that was on Tinder, and apparently she went out on a date with a guy, but then when they got out, she was not feeling well, and then he offered to take a taxi, take her home, and then she was feeling better, so she invited him for a tea. But then she said, okay, I'm not feeling very well. Can you please go? And apparently he left, but then she went upstairs to just lay down because she's not feeling very well. And at some point she realized or she heard that somebody got into her house, and she called the police. And when the police arrived, they told her, okay, you don't want to come downstairs. And what happened was that apparently the guy came back, and I don't know, he got her keys or she didn't lock the doors, and he put everything in a foil. So if she didn't hear him, I don't know what will happen. But of course, those are isolated events. Of course, those are the events that we heard from somebody that knows somebody.
And also this can happen if you meet someone in a bar or through your friends.
Exactly, of
Actually.
course. And we also heard that a few days ago that it can happen that there are these scams that they ask of money.
For example, I heard that in Austria, the Tinder became quite unpopular because there are too many scammers out there. But as you said, this is what we heard from other people, so it's like we cannot really claim that it's the case.
Everything that we know of scams and bad experiences is through other people. I myself, I had an experience from Bumble. I went out on a few dates with this guy, and he seemed nice, but then he on the third date he started telling, "Oh my God, I can't believe yeah, he can't believe that it's only third date." And then I realized, okay, this is too much, and this has to stop because he already asked me if I want to have kids. He was already planning to not go or to go to certain places. He already told me that he cheated in every single relationship that he was in before me.
But this one was going to.
This one is going to be different because he told me what to look out for.
Put a GPS on him.
Yeah,
He kind of allowed you to put a GPS on him.
apparently. And when I said that, okay, this is it, I don't want this. This is a bit too much. Then he wrote me a letter, 8 pages. So
Like Rachel and Ross.
front and back.
Kind of situation.
Yes. So I had these kind of experiences, but still, it's not life-threatening. We just wanted to say that that can also exist on the internet, and that really people who go on the online dating platforms should be careful.
Definitely. Another thing that I remember is that someone told me that, for example, these platforms like Parship in Spain don't never actually work. Especially, if you are a guy, sign up for this dating platform. I don't know if it's like really called Parship or something similar. And then you just basically get commercials for some kinky stuff. You get contact requests from people who are trying to sell you things like sex toys and stuff. So that it doesn't really work. Especially there are not many women on this page. And for example, now I have a friend who is using Bumble a lot. And for me, at least, it's kind of hilarious.
We have to say that there is an age difference between what is showing to her and people around you and what's shown to me on the dating apps.
What do you mean?
I'm looking for people 25
Guys,
yes.
20s. She's closer to my age, so she's looking for guys in their 30s. And yes, this is important to mention because, as I understood, Bubble is a little bit, let's say, slightly less superficial than Tinder. You add a bit more of descriptions on your profile, or no?
More respective, I would say. More respective. But also, it's about the personal experience. And what is the catch on Bumble is that women are supposed to reach out to the guys first. And also now, I think because girls are still a bit shy about that, there is this automatic message, automatic question that the moment that you make a match can be sent to the guy.
I see.
So then basically he starts the conversation again. But yeah, that's the difference.
So what was funny to me is she's really struggling to find a guy who has like meaningful profile description about themselves, because most of them are likes to watch Netflix and has a long sleeps in the bed. I even found a couple of her soulmates.
That will be my soulmate.
She said, and I completely agree with her. This is a guy in his 30s. he puts like this into his profile: zero ambition, zero motivation. Like, do you really think, is this romantic? What is this? Like,
I would say it's the most romantic thing in the world.
but mom, seriously. Yes, there was something else, but I mean, there was Netflix snaps, and there was something else, but equally absurd. So it's like, come on, people. I mean, okay, you don't have to put your financial portfolio in your description, or like your CV with your, I don't know, education, employment history, whatever. But come on, a little bit of ambition in your life, especially if you're someone in your mid 30s, really will not hurt your profile. Like,
Yeah, but for example, now that I think about it, what you put in our blog description, that you like fitness now and that you really like Christmas market, I could imagine that being a good profile description for a dating app because
it's not.
because it is saying something specific about you.
Most of these Tinder profiles, they say they like dogs and long walks and traveling.
That's what
Forget about
my profiles.
just forget about this. Try to describe yourself in some things that like not 90% of the profiles are saying. I mean, okay, you can put that as well, but expand it. Put something that not so many people thought of it. Like also this thing with the Christmas market. Try to think about at least one thing that exists on less than 5% of the profiles. Even if this person is not going to be interested in Christmas markets as you are, they would appreciate originality.
Yeah, but now
I don't know male brain, but in the reverse case, I would appreciate originality.
yeah, but now that I think about it, what I didn't, but what I could have put on my profile that would be, as you said, more original or more personal, could be that I like drawing or that or I like watching birds. But honestly,
Yes.
I think that guys would perceive me as a nerd, and then they would just, tell me to
But bottom line, if I were on a dating app, I would really appreciate something that nobody else wrote. Of course, you don't have to, invent hot water, but like just write something that is not comes on the top of your mind when you think of.
No, that's right.
Just put one thing that like you will not see on 90 something percent of other profiles. As I said, even if this person is not interested in that, they would appreciate originality.
Yeah, you're right. But honestly, my profile was what age I am, that I like walking in the nature, that I like swimming, and what I study, and that I'm passionate about it. But that's it.
Good for you.
And that happened on a few different dating apps.
I mean, as I said, I cannot judge this. I am very illiterate in this.
No, but maybe that's why I was always approached by the same type of guys that just wanted to go out and have fun.
Okay, then maybe there is something.
I know of Hinge. I think I opened the profile on Hinge, but never used it because I already had Bumble and Tinder at the time. But I know that a friend of mine found a boyfriend.
Sure, everybody knows somebody who found somebody.
Yeah, I also heard of many relationships from Tinder. But I think that people have more chances if they pay for the apps. But I don't know. I mean, I had so many different experiences from people asking me for one night stands. There were people whose first message was, okay, let's go out, have a coffee. Or I don't know, we would text for a few days and then the person would just disappear. I had some dates where I felt like, for example, I was texting with some person. So there is this Bagley app.
Mm-hmm.
There are apps for everything, and I literally mean everything. There's an app called Vegly, and it's for vegans and vegetarians. So I'm vegan, and I had this app for some years actually, but I was using it on and off because it's really nice to meet people who have kind of similar mindset to you, and then you can see what else you have in common. But this app was never full of people because there are not so many vegans and vegetarians, and there are not so many vegans and vegetarians on the dating apps. I would just go there maybe a few times a month, maybe every once in a few months, depending on how I felt, and I would see whether there were some new people. And there was a guy that I was texting with, and he seemed really nice. We went out on a date, and we went out on a date in Lubeck. And Lubeck is such a beautiful city. In the north of Germany, there are not so many of them. Many of them were destroyed during the war, but Lubeck was really beautiful. And we had a really nice time, but for some reason, I don't like this guy. And then we started talking, and somehow we the phone, and we got to the topic of sarma. He asked me, I don't know if he asked me about traditional dishes in Serbia. He's German. But I told him that sarma is a traditional dish that is basically stuffed cabbage leaves, sour cabbage leaves with the rice or some different food. And you have to cook it overnight. And I said that, yeah, our mother is always cooking it overnight.
Isn't it like dangerous?
Yeah, exactly. So I said that our mother is always doing it overnight, or I guess maybe you can do it from the moment you wake up.
I think you need just to get up very early to have it ready for lunch.
Or something like that. But the bottom line is that your stove needs to be on for so many hours, and it's really not safe. I mean, you can't really guard the stove for such a long time.
Why are we talking about this?
The point is, I said that, and he was like, "But you're gonna make it for me." And I was like, no, I'm saying that only my mother is making it for me because I'm not gonna watch the stove for such a long time. But he was like, but you're gonna make it for me, and because I'm special. And I was like, this is so stupid.
But was he joking or was he serious?
No, he was joking, but you can feel the pushing from the background.
I see.
You can feel that this person is joking, but wants this gesture of you.
I see. When I was younger, I was not really thinking so much about these things. But what I don't like when it comes to dating in any language is that first, I don't like these guys who are telling you the moment you meet, we are going to go this place and that place, and we are going to do this and that together. And then they don't even call you. I mean, you don't have to promise me anything. I don't care. Let's just have a good time and see how things are going. Like, what I never could really distinguish is that they just like to talk these things because they think this is, I don't know, desirable. Like they think that they are going to make you cozy or whatever, or they just really think about this. Like they're really making these plans, and then next day they forget about them.
I think these people are living for the highs. They start talking to you and they start talking, oh, we're going to go there and there. And you really feel this high, this adrenaline rush. But then the next day kind of wears off, right? And you can't really, I don't know, promise all over again to the same person. So then you go to another.
Yeah, I never, because usually to me, this was like a red flag. The moment you know me for 15-ish minutes and you start making plans for the next year vacation, this is for me a red flag, actually. This is one thing. And the second thing is I know that this is like still among many women and men a desirable thing, but I don't like men who give you compliments because, like,
depending what the compliment is.
Okay, of course. But for example, what I don't like is compliments about physical appearance.
Exactly.
Or also my personality. But let's focus on physical appearance. You're pretty. Okay, why is this important? First thing, why is it important if I am pretty or not? And the other thing is, I really have this feeling that many guys are telling you that to make you like kind of dependent on this compliment, and that they are feeding your insecurity with telling you that you look pretty and that you kind of feel better around them.
This is also this love bombing. Now, in the beginning, they're telling you you're pretty, you're amazing, you're so smart, we're gonna go here and there, and then you kind of get used to this. And then you require all these things, and they stop telling you these things. And then you think, oh my God, is there something wrong between us because he's not saying this anymore? And then if you tell this to this guy, and you think, okay, do you love me less, or is there something to me?
You meet me, I'm 30 years old, and then I said, I'm not 30 years old anymore. Let's say I am 30 years old, and then you come and tell me you are pretty. I have a mirror for the last 30 years. I know how I look like.
But maybe you don't know that what you're looking at is pretty.
Serious? No. And also, I don't care. I don't need to be pretty to feel good about myself. And this is just dot.
But
That's all.
these kind of people who are big on their words, and they're not big on actions. They're not big on doing anything for you, but they're just big on talking. And
I don't like it.
exactly, I understand.
But compliments are still so widespread that it's ridiculous.
Yes, because
So many women are appreciating them.
because so many women don't know their self-worth, and they need someone to tell them whether they're pretty or smart or whatever, because they think the worst of themselves, and they just need some.
Okay, maybe not necessarily worst, but
Yes,
yeah.
but I do think that it's really nice if you are like talking to someone for longer, and then you are developing some kind of relationship, and the person does tell you, like, not pretty, but they tell you, I don't know, he realizes that you are smart. He should know that you are smart. But there is a point. I don't know. You are solving a Sudoku together, or you are watching a movie together, and you figure out the plot. And then he says, "Oh, you're so smart."
It doesn't mean this is not the same context. This
Exactly.
is just making a affirmation, yes, giving a positive feedback.
But
to
it's
something.
implement.
I would not, I don't know, from context, it's not exactly, because you should do some, I don't know, a challenge or task is just like a confirmation that the task is well done.
Yes, but for example, when I was in Brazil with my boyfriend, we were always going around and looking for birds. Yeah, as I said, I'm a nerd. And I was able to see birds from the trees, to see them hidden inside the trees, or to just see them standing on the water, but they're really well blend in. And then he would tell me, "Ah, you have such a good eye."
Yeah,
And it
this
really
is concrete situation. Yeah, but I think this is a concrete situation. I would not, I would not really make it the same.
Yes.
Here.
But I still feel it's like a compliment, and these kind of compliments I really like.
No, I mostly refer to the physical appearance, because this is something that I think it's irrelevant. Like, we are all individuals, we all look different, and every person is beautiful in their own way. First, physical appearance should not be commented, and this kind of feeding of a person's insecurities and gaining some cheap points. So
Yes.
I don't like it. And for me, this was always like a minus point if I hear it, instead of
But for example,
working.
what you said before about giving compliments, and what I started saying, that person starts kind of like showering you and love bombing you with all these compliments, and then they stop, and then you are wondering, okay, what's happening? And then they start giving you a little, they just tell you sometimes a little bit and kind of breadcrumb you, and then they start giving you bad comments, and then they start mixing that with compliments and bad comments, and then you know whether you're worth it or not based on that. I think that's still happening in the dating life, and that happened for me. And I do think that women should really be careful online or offline, foreign, non-foreign dating life, because this can happen. And I think women should go into dating world knowing this before, because we need to first be satisfied with ourselves and know how much we worth,
Yes.
to be able to allow another person into our life. And I was a bit blind back then with my ex-boyfriend, and I was getting these amazing compliments that I'm so beautiful and that I'm amazing and doing these amazing things for him. And then he would tell me that I have hair like a werewolf on my face. So, and then next thing would be, you're amazing. And then it would be, you have a tooth that's not straight, even though he was missing a few teeth, right? And then I would get many compliments that I am a man, that I'm so good, that I'm so smart, that he was lost before me, and these kind of things. So I think that women should be really careful about this, because this can happen online at first, because whether we want it or not, we first meet the person through words. So if they start telling us how great we are, as you said, how beautiful we are, even though we don't know each other, even though we've never seen each other in person, we should be careful.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to add? I have one more thing maybe to say.
No.
One of the things that worked at least quite well for me, and it was very important for me, It's something that is not really related to the fact if you speak with someone in your native language or not, or if that person is speaking in their native language or not, is like look at the body language. For me, the body language was the first thing that I was paying attention to. And if you see that this person, like body language and also the way how person pronounces what they are telling to you. Because if that person looks like they feel endangered by you intellectually, physically, financially, whatever, it depends on the topic you touch. Then this is a huge red flag, and for this you don't need a language. This is just enough, like the way how this person speaks and their body language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was still dating, not just abroad, but also the last couple of years abroad, because this is the time when I actually consider myself that I were mature enough to really seriously date. This was very important. Yes.
But for that, you really need to meet in person. You really need to.
No, I think talking on the phone or video call, it's already gives some signs. But yes, meeting in person, of course, it's super important.
Yes. But to meet somebody in person, you really should get to the point that okay, you know that this person is not going to kidnap you when you meet in person.
Yes.
For me, I was dating on that Vagly app, and I started talking to a guy, and I really was in a mess. Like I was moving, and I didn't have time to text, and he actually asked me almost right away to go out to meet in person. And usually, these kind of guys, I just stop responding because I'm like, why do you want me to meet in person? Because I still don't know who the fuck you are, and you might be a fake profile. But as I said, I was in a rush basically, and I had a lot of things to do. So I decided to meet with him, and it was quite nice because we got to talk, and it was much better because you can cover more topics. You can see whether you really have something in common or not, and whether he's interested in you, whether he's asking questions or not. And you can also see what you said, basically the body language, whether when you say something, whether this person is kind of withdrawing or is kind of not getting closer to you in a sense that they're going to kiss you on the first date. If that happens and you want something more serious, don't do that. But yeah, I mean, you can really see most of the stuff in person. I would agree.
But what's wrong with kissing on the first?
I don't know, depending what you want, because for me, in my experience at least, when the guy wanted to or when the guy kissed me on the first date, it was either to mess around or it was this kind of really immature person who didn't follow my body language and didn't follow my signs. And he decided that it was a great idea to kiss me because he just wanted to have sex. But yeah, of course, it depends on the person and how the person feels on the first date. But I clearly always give signs that okay, we are out.
Yeah, I can also imagine that. I guess in most of the cases, I would not want any physical contact on the first date. If I meet someone online, but I can just like from this distance assume this.
For me, so personally, it can be different for everyone. But for me, it's like I don't want to have anything physical with the person until I know at least a little bit about the person.
Yeah.
I don't know the person. I don't know the body of this person. I don't know what they like or don't like. And then we just go straight and have sex. Like,
it's not about sex. We were talking about kiss.
Well, you start kissing and then you.
Well, depends where you are kissing. If you're kissing in a restaurant, I guess.
Like you haven't heard of people having sex in the bathroom.
Yes, I've heard of that. But no, this was not what I meant. It was meant like, yes, if you kiss like for goodbye kiss.
Okay, goodbye kiss is something. Yes, I agree. But yeah, with the goodbye kiss, it would be different. But that's the thing. It was not the intention of a goodbye kiss. It was the intention, okay, I'm going to walk you home and I'm going to kiss you either before walking you home or when I walk you home. So you invite me home.
Okay.
But
yeah, okay, but this is very specific.
Yes. No.
Okay. This was it for this episode. Yeah, we are publishing a new episode every week. Also, you can follow us on social media. We have also blog. They are all in the description of this video. We have also more podcast videos. Check them out. We have shorts as well. Check them out and tell us your experiences and ask questions.
Yeah, tell us about your experiences on the dating apps or dating abroad in general. And if you have any questions for us, I would be happy to continue talking about this topic. So yeah, just like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.